Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, our production of Gore column, in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives after they put out important news. Why are sports fans going to love this interview with a small cap resource company? Here's why, because you understand stats. If you hit 300 baseball, you're in the Hall of Fame. If you shoot 50% from the field in basketball, you're an icon. And if you go 45 for 45 in drilling, you're Green River Gold, all right? And that number is indisputable. So that's why you're going to love this interview, because as gold now holds firm at around $2,000 and the electric vehicle revolution propels demand, and that's an understatement, for battery metals, the resource industry is undergoing a significant transformation, with electric vehicles projected to reach a staggering $7 trillion mark by 2030. Small cap resource companies are thriving. However, this success presents investors with a challenging decision. Should they focus on the allure of gold or seize the opportunities in the burgeoning battery metals sector? Well, Green River Gold is a small cap resource company that offers investors both, thanks to assembling a powerhouse set of projects in BC that include the Quesnel nickel magnesium talc project, the Fontaine gold project, the Kymar silver project, and the Cali lithium pegmatite project. What they have in common is being in some of British Columbia's most highly prospective mining districts. And today, the news we're talking about, Green River Gold reports assay results and again intersects nickel, magnesium, cobalt, and chromium for the 45th consecutive hole. Perry, I think you're a Hall of Famer. Welcome back, my friend.
Thanks, George. Great intro. Great to see you again. It's been a while.
Yeah, great seeing you. And listen, I love the fact that we're seeing the streak is intact. And let me ask you about that. We all understand at bats, most of us sports fans, and baskets. What have you done for the 45th time in a row in layman's terms?
This is almost getting boring. It's so consistent. Basically, we have drilled 45 holes. We started drilling in the very tail end of 2021. On our nickel project. We knew there was potential for nickel there from some old holes that have been drilled. We had no idea how much would be there. We shot a mag survey and it came up that it was a pretty big area. So we started drilling, and we're a little shy. We use an XRF gun to direct our day-to-day operations. Of course, you got to do assays afterwards, but the XRF gun is remarkably correct on this thing. And we use that to guide us. So we drilled the first hole, and we had nickel, magnesium, cobalt, and chromium showing up in the first foot. And so we drilled a bunch more holes in zone 1, as we call it, and hit the same stuff. Then we stepped out after a few holes there. We stepped out in 2022, 8 kilometers to the southeast on the same deep purple anomaly. And we drilled about 20 holes down there. And again, it's all the same. So we've drilled a few in between now. That's what we've been doing, is focusing very close to zone 1 and drilling. That's where these ones came from, the one we just did. And it's in between as well. So it doesn't seem to matter. The grades are about the same. And every hole, as soon as we get into Bedrock, we're in nickel.
How significant is it to go forward? Because again, there are a lot of people who are watching and who may not know the resource industry as well as most of us. How significant is it to go 45 for 45? Like,
I used to do an awful lot of mining stocks. I don't recall too many people having a perfect batting average. So if they did, they were hitting something far deeper, right? To have 45 for 45 and every one of them starting at surface, right? I mean, this is pretty phenomenal. I honestly don't remember seeing it. And wow. I've been around a lot of mining stocks,
So let's talk about what you're drilling. It's the deep purple. I love the name. Stock symbol CCR. If there are any old rock fans out there, they're going to start to make connections, right? How big is the deep purple? And how does it compare, again, relative to other projects out there? Because, again, a lot of people just need that comparison because they won't know it on its own.
I'll use one 4-letter word rather than the one I usually use, and that's huge. Okay, it is very, very large. It runs for 14 linear kilometers. It's on trend. All the trends up there seem to run from northwest to southeast. If we show a map in a few minutes, you'll see that. Yep. But it's long and skinny, so it pinches and swells. So it's about 7 square kilometers total. And like I said, we've drilled out of the 14-kilometer length. We've drilled holes over about 10 kilometers of it. And the last one that we reported was 900 meters, almost a kilometer from the previous hole, and we hit the same stuff. So it seems to be, we can hit a dud here eventually, but so far we've got to the point now where we just sort of expect to hit it in the first foot, and and until proven different, we're calling it a hunt for overburden. Right? We're trying to find overburden, and we can't. Actually, that's a semi-truth. There is some gravel laying on top of this stuff. There's
You're trying to find other people can't get rid of overburden. You're trying to find some.
We're seeking overburden. That should be our new slogan, seeking overburden. But actually, there is in the low spots, zone 1 and zone 2, the reason we chose to drill those, they're huge outcrops. They rise about 700 feet above the surrounding ground. You got to remember, you're in the Caribou Mountains here, right? So this isn't like we're drilling on a plateau or something. This is up and down. It's hilly. It's crazy. It's walking around in there it's a workout. But in the Caribou, it's not like Northern Ontario where I grew up. There's glacial till on top of it. Forests have grown on top of this stuff. So when the glaciers receded, they left this layer of gravel or shale, whatever you want to call it, sitting on it. You can picture it be like, gravel and shale, sometimes big boulders, but it's all loose, unconsolidated material sitting on top of the bedrock. These two outcrops gave us a huge advantage because we've got total visibility, right? It is like Northern Ontario, just these two big blocks of rock. So we were able to drill without any impediments whatsoever. You get into the low spots, there's a little bit of gravel sitting on top of the stuff. It might be, 20 feet, 30 feet of gravel before you hit the bedrock. But that stuff's easy to move. I mean,
but that's pretty. Question for you: more than just going 45 for 45, your results are also really uniform and similar from top to bottom in every hole. Again, I haven't seen that, not for 45 holes, maybe for a few, right? But I want to hear it from you. How significant is that to have that uniformity and consistency?
This would be obviously, an open pit type project, actually more of an open mound type project, because zone 1 and zone 2, we got to shave them down 700 feet before you can even build a pit. But it's very important because and with that XRF gun, we get a reading every 10 centimeters all the way down. We're very scientific about it, and the consistency just makes it that much easier to predict what your economics are going to look like, right? We don't have wild hot spots. It's a bit of variation, but it's not very much. We end up at about close to 0.2% nickel, 0.01 cobalt, 20% plus magnesium. I think the last one was something like 22%, consistently in that range. And
those are good numbers for people at home, again, who don't know, relatively speaking, how happy are you with those numbers?
Yeah, the magnesium number is quite high. The nickel number, we categorize it as low grade. Okay, I mean, I'm going to be realistic here. This is low grade nickel, but it's at surface. So I use one other project as a bit of a reference point, and that's Giga Metals. And I like their project. I had the opportunity to meet their people and actually introduce them to the conference.
North of you on Trend.
Giga is 12 hours north of us.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, it's up there quite a bit, and it's pretty remote. Quesnel is we can look at it. Quesnel's about 7 hours from Vancouver, and right on the main highway. We got all kinds of infrastructure. Giga is a little challenged that way, but they've got a huge project. I think the last time I saw, I think it's mining.com ranked them as the 4th largest undeveloped nickel project on the planet. So they've done a lot of drilling.
Similarities to them, right, Perry? Even though they're 12 hours north, a lot of similarities, right?
The nickel grades are similar. They're near surface, some places at surface. I don't want to talk too much about their project because I'm not an expert on their project, but I like it, and I've watched it for years. And again, it's really all about the size, the scale, the proximity to surface that to me is appealing. And also the metallurgy. And our metallurgy came back for zone 1, very similar to what they've got. The nickel is sulfide, it's pentlandite, and pentlandite is something you can recover with froth flotation. So I like their project, and I think we've got a lot of similarities. We're a little closer to infrastructure, but the fact that I like their project doesn't really mean much. Mitsubishi liked their project. Okay, Mitsubishi bought 15% of their project for $8 million. just about a year ago. I think it was August of last year. And so, people say all these low grade, near surface deposits never work. Well, Mitsubishi aren't exactly, a gang of morons, right? These are very well trained, very professional people, and they had the whole world as their oyster to pick nickel projects, and they chose that one. And I think it has to do with the metallurgy and also the fact it's British Columbia. I mean, that's a good mining jurisdiction.
Yeah,
And
especially with some
so-
things going on around the world, man. Canada's looking great. You've got 45 for 45, so presume you're looking to extend that streak just like everybody else. Where are you at? Because you're still drilling, right? And I saw some of the press release, but people should know about it. How's the streak looking right now?
We're well down in number 46 right now, and I think we even mentioned in the press release that the top of it when we started drilling it, same stuff. And again, I think it's trying to remember where this one is in relation to the other ones. And I don't want to give you bad information, but it's quite a step out from where the heart of zone 1 is. So I won't throw out a number because I can't remember the exact meters. But yeah, we're stepping out quite a ways. A lot of companies you'll see them step out, they're drilling, they go out 50 meters, 100 meters. I mean, we went out 900 meters on the one hole and hit the same stuff, right? So we think it's big, and I guess that's where the parallels with something like Giga come in, is the size, the scale, the metallurgy, and in our case, the proximity to the infrastructure are all pretty wonderful. So it's thrilling.
So you've got a lot more runway because you've mentioned a couple of times you've been focused on these 2 outcrops. You've drilled about 9 kilometers of the entire 14-kilometer length of the anomaly. You've yet to drill the far northwest and the far southeast. And for now, you're concentrating your efforts on zone 1. So I think this is a good time for me to bring in an image to help people kind of visualize this on. And what I want to talk about is, why are you concentrating your efforts on zone 1? And give us some other context. So let me bring that up here. Give me 1 second here, Perry. Okay, we've got this. Got to do some screen sharing.
There we go. This has a dual benefit. It gets my face off the screen.
Mine too. Okay, give me 1 second. Here we go. All right. So let us know. Obviously, we can see a lot of purple. We're seeing zone 1, zone 2. Give us some context as to what we're looking at here.
Sure. Well, this is the upper northwest corner of what is basically a 200 plus square kilometer project we have that sits in between 2 gold mines. So we originally staked this. The priority was the gold, okay, because we're on trend with a bunch of other gold properties. We're in between 2 gold mines.
Which we'll see in a minute. Also, we're gonna show an image on that also.
And Osisko is building their Barkerville gold mine just to the east of us. So we staked it for gold. We were aware of the potential for nickel and that this area looked a little different. So we staked this additional spot. When we got this image, which is basically the result of a magnetic survey that was flown on the property, the geophysicist was on the call, just kept focusing on this end of it. And after about 3 interruptions, I basically said, okay, tell me why you're so excited. And he said, you got something that's 14 kilometers long with a very significant magnetic image to it. He said, you might want to go over there and drill that. So we switched our focus briefly, we thought, from gold to nickel. We love our gold property. Don't get me wrong. We're still Green River Gold for a reason. But when you get
that added benefit of having gold and nickel in the same project.
Exactly. And right close to infrastructure. And that jagged line you see down the, where the claims end and we go onto our neighbor's property, there's a forestry road that runs right along there. So basically we can drive from our shop to this project in 45 minutes. So our people start in the morning, 45 minutes later, they're standing at the drill rig. So the reason we're focused on zone 1 is the results in zone 1 and zone 2 were extremely similar. Most of the holes we drilled are on those 2 zones. And those are those 2 large outcrops I mentioned. They're just great big bald pieces of rock sticking up out of the mountains. And it makes access to drill very easy. We don't have to deal with any gravel sitting on top of the bedrock, although the gravel's not a big deal. It's easier, obviously, when you can see what you're drilling. So we've done quite a few holes in here already. We got a head start. we want to do a 43-101 on a portion of this thing. It would cost us a lot of money to drill all of this to be able to do a 43-101 on all of it, which eventually we would like to do. So we're trying to focus on one area. It was a toss-up, zone 1, zone 2, but we'd already done some metallurgical work on zone 1. We had a pretty good idea what we had there, and we thought, okay, let's focus on that one. It was a 60-40 decision as to which zone to do first, but we decided to go with zone
Turned out to
1.
be a great decision. That's for sure.
They're very similar, and yeah, it's so we're drilling. The holes we've been drilling now are kind of, just at the edge, the southeast edge of zone 1.
I'm just going to kind of bring in, this is a same kind of image, but this shows the concentration of drilling in zone 1,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and that's where we're focused now. So we're going to leave zone 2 alone for the time being. We've basically put in for a permit, which we hope to see fairly soon, where we'll do a bunch of trenching, which will give us a lot of material. And that's the other advantage of having consistency. The stuff we get at the top is the same stuff you get 100 meters down. So basically the trenching should give us a very good idea on the metallurgy. And then we'll also be doing, the plan is 20 holes on zone, well, they'll spread around a bit. Most of them will be on zone 1. And it'll be 300 meters is what we're targeting. So the biggest we've gone so far is about 128 meters.
And let's show this a little bit. Here's a further zoom out. I mean, there's zone 1 right there. There's zone 2. There's the entire property. But for people who haven't seen this before, it's just greatly positioned. Talk to us about that, because when I see an airport sign that close and a city sign that close, that's great news.
Yeah. Yeah, Quesnel is a city. It's an industrial town. It's pulp mills, and there's mining around there. Placer mining all over the place, because it's the old Caribou Gold Rush was centered here, right? Barkerville's up at the end of the highway there on the right. Barkerville's just a tourist town now. It's not really a town. There's a little town called Wells right next to it, 250 people. That's the end of the paved highway. If you want to drive from Quesnel up the hill, it's about 85 kilometers to get to Wells. And if you want to stay on pavement, you turn around at Wells and you drive back down to Quesnel. So it's all logging roads. You're pretty high up in the Caribou Mountains by the time you get there.
But the distance from here to a Tim Hortons over here is about 45 minutes.
45 minutes, you got it. And the last stop on the way out of town's an A&W. It's right beside our shop. We're on the far north end of Quesnel. You can see the cutoff for Highway 26 right there. So you take Highway 26, the famous Barkerville Highway. You head out there about 30 kilometers on pavement. You turn southeast. The highway follows along where you see the 3-phase power line, the checkered line there. That's actually right along the highway that heads up to Wells. We head southeast on a logging road, the 1300 road, for about 12 and a half kilometers. And that gets to the top end of our property. And literally our property is on the left-hand side of the road. Our neighbors Omanika are on the right-hand side of the road. So
and let's take a look at that image. So I'm going to stop sharing on this one. And I want to share one more, because it just shows you well, what a great area you're in. So let me bring this up.
Yeah, we have everything while you're bringing that up. Quesnel's 23,000 people. The rail line runs through there. Highway 97, the main north-south thoroughfare, runs through there.
So here's another phase out here. But this is where you are right there. And let's talk about your neighbors. Obviously, a Cisco big one. We talk about your neighbors here.
Yeah, well, the reason we originally staked the original 94 square kilometers, we more than doubled it about a year ago, or less than a year ago. We've got our property looks small there. It's only because we're sitting between two giants. Omanika staked a huge amount of ground, and Cisco, they're close to 2,000 square kilometers. And that's one of the biggest contiguous stack of gold claims probably on the planet, or mineral claims. And so we look small compared to them, but our property is 200 square kilometers. And the reason we staked it was the proximity to the old Barkerville gold mines. Funny timing on that, by the way. We staked it in 2019. And by the time we did our due diligence and closed the deal, 1 month later, I think it was 1 month later to the day, Cisco bought Barkerville gold mines for $335 million and started pouring money into the area. And thank you for that, Cisco. They're good neighbors, and they've certainly brought the area to life. but they're building their Caribou Gold project right next door to us, to our east. To our west are good friends of ours from Almanica, and they've got an unusual an underground alluvial project. Plus, they're looking for the hard rock source of that alluvial gold, and their Wing Dam project is a bit of a geological marvel as far as I'm concerned. It's right along the highway right beside us. So good friends of ours from a long time back. The Eureka thrust fault is.
I was going to say, I'm no geologist, but whenever I see a thrust fault like this, it's bordering right on you with them. That's usually a good sign.
Yeah, so that runs again. Everything here runs northwest to southeast. All the primary trends. So if you look down, you can't really drive. Like it's so nice and close. It looks like we're only about 60 kilometers away from those properties to the south of us. But you have to go around to get to them. You have to drive back to Quesnel, south to Williams Lake, east, and then back north again to get there. So the mountains are in the way. This is the Caribou Mountains.
Pretty soon you'll be flying a drone over there. So you'll be flying in a flying drone about 3 years.
Just to give you the pedigree of the neighborhood, George, if you look to the south of us there, you've got Spanish Mountain Gold, who are advancing a project. They'd like to put a gold mine in there. You've got Imperial Metals with the Mount Poly mine that's been operating for a long time. You got Karis Gold. They're changing the name of that soon. They're going to take it public. We may have to update our slide here. I haven't followed it that closely, but that one.
Yeah, I can't say that name rings a bell for me. So.
Well, it was private, but it was 27% owned by Eric Sprott the last time I looked. So it's got a pretty good, pretty good bankroll behind it. And then to the west is Taseko Mines. That's the Gibraltar mine, which is the second largest open pit copper mine, second largest copper mine in Canada. And they've got copper and moly. But again, it's at surface and it's relatively low grade. They've been mining that thing since the 1970s. Right. So when people say you can't mine this near surface low grade stuff, I think they should take a look at Gibraltar, because the grades aren't high and it's profitable, right? They make money on this thing and have been for a long, long time. So we're excited. We got great infrastructure. We're in a great neighborhood.
So question for you. What's the plan for a resource estimate of some kind, because at the end of the day, that's what shareholders and prospective investors really want to get to is, when do we find out at least the first resource estimate? It's not going to be the last one, but what are you aiming for?
Early next calendar year. Our guys were trying to be a little more aggressive than that, and I kind of backed them off. I love their enthusiasm, don't get me wrong, but trying to be a little more realistic. So I'd say, we were saying Q1 of calendar 2024. If we're within a couple of months of that, I'll be happy. But we've got to drill a bunch more holes. We're bringing in a bigger rig. As soon as we get the permit, we'll be up there drilling. And we anticipate.
How many holes do you think you'll have done? That's a great last question there. I know I said last question on the resource estimate, but how many holes do you want to have done by the end of the year so you can put it into a resource estimate?
We've still got a few holes to drill based on this using the Winky drill that we were using now, that'll get down 100 meters or so. It's a small drill. And then the game plan, the permit, is for 20 more holes that'll be 300 meters in depth. And that'll be focused primarily on zone 1, with the idea of doing a 43-101 on zone 1. And we can drill that relatively quickly. That'd all be done this season. One of the wonderful things about having a shop, like we have a large shop. We run a private company as well that supplies core boxes and drilling services and everything to mining companies, and we share that shop with Green River. So that's 45 minutes away. So we can run our drilling program. We got a 2-acre yard. We can store everything in. So we can mobilize. We can mobilize in no time at all. And all of our people are local, so we don't pay living out allowances. They go up there in the morning, drill all day, go home, sleep in their own bed, go watch the kids hockey game. It's
if it was me, by the way, before I get home, I'd stop off at A&W, then I'd go home. So sounds like my kind of place, Perry. And the good thing is, you and I, if you got 20 more holes to go, it looks like people are gonna have to, whether they like or not, they're gonna have to keep watching our faces for the next couple of months. But more importantly, hey, I want to see how far this streak goes. Like, knock on wood, all streaks come to an end eventually. But I'd love to see how far you're going to go, and it's going to be great taking this ride with you until we get to that, that last drill hole for the year, and then get ready for the resource estimate.
For now, the hunt for overburden continues.
The hunt for Red October is the sequel is the hunt for overburden. Thanks for joining us, Perry. Congratulations, my friend.
Thanks a lot, George. Great to see you.
For everybody
Enjoy
at
the
home, you've
summer.
been watching or been listening to my podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, your favorite podcast platform. To Perry Little, he's a president CEO of Green River Gold, trades in Canada, CCR. For you rock fans, you're gonna love that. And for our friends in the US, CCRRF. For those new to the story, because the company was kind of in stealth mode for a couple of years, gathering its resources and its plan, and now they're really, the coming out party has really happened this year, but you hear about it for the first time. Take a look at the profile page on Agoracom to get a good layman's overview of what the company's doing, and then hop over to the Green River Gold website to your deep dive due diligence. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. See you next time. Hey guys, the video's over, but don't forget to help your company by liking it and even leaving a comment below. And then don't forget to help yourself by subscribing to our YouTube channel so you never miss another great Agoracom small cap video.